Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Leandra McGriff, and I am the Education Strategy Lead at Infosys Foundation USA. So, before coming to Infosys, I was an educator for several years before entering EdTech, and now I work at the foundation where our goal is to expand computer science across the US. All right, let's get started. Again, I am so glad you're here. If you've been feeling a little overwhelmed by the headlines about artificial intelligence, take a deep breath. You are in the right place. Today isn't about becoming a computer scientist. It isn't about coding complex algorithms or understanding the math behind neural networks. Today is about what we do best as educators, teaching students to be critical thinkers, good citizens, and kind human beings. We're going to talk about AI ethics and bias. I know that sounds heavy. It sounds like a graduate level college course, but I promise we are going to make it approachable and actually pretty interesting for your students. Okay, so when you think about AI in your school, what actually keeps you up at night? Is it cheating, the essay writing fears, misinformation, fake facts, bias, unfairness, privacy, data security, or just all of the above? Okay, looking at what you guys have said in the past, I think a lot of you are worried about cheating. But here is the norm for today's session. We are here to understand AI, not to panic about it. We are moving from fear to empowerment. By the end of this hour, you will have the vocabulary to talk to your students about this confidently. So, first things first, what do we actually mean when we say AI ethics? If you're explaining this to a third grader or even a 10th grader, you don't need a textbook definition. You can simply say AI ethics are the guidelines for using AI responsibly and fairly. Think of it as manners or rules of the road for robots and software. Just like we teach students digital citizenship, don't cyberbully, cite your sources, we now have to teach AI citizenship. So, to make this stick, I use four pillars. If you take notes, you may want to jot these down. These are the concepts your students need to know. So, number one is fairness. Does the AI treat everyone equally, or does it have favorites? Does it work just as well for a girl as a boy, for a native English speaker as well as an ESL student? Two, privacy. Is the AI protecting our secrets? When we type into a chatbot, where does that information go? Is it being sold? Is it being memorized? Transparency. This is the big one. Do we know how the tool works? Is it a black box or can we explain it? If a computer gives you a detention, you should know why. Four, safety. Does the tool keep us safe from harmful or mean content? Does it know not to teach a student how to make a dangerous chemical reaction? If a tool fails at any of these, we have an ethical problem. And today we're really going to zoom in on that first pillar, fairness. All right, so this brings us to the word of the day, bias. So, in the world of AI, bias happens when the computer makes a decision that is unfair or favors one group of people over another. But wait, computers are machines, right? They don't have feelings, they don't have prejudices, they are math. So, how can they possibly be biased? Well, it comes down to how they are built. AI isn't magic, it's a pattern matcher. It learns from data. If the data we give it is skewed, the AI will be skewed. So you probably have been looking at this picture on the screen, and it's the cooking analogy I like to use. So if you bake a cake and you use salt instead of sugar, the cake will taste salty. It's not the oven's fault, it's the ingredients. The data is the ingredients. So that is what we're seeing here in this picture. Now, here is my favorite way to explain this to kids K through 12. Imagine we want to train a robot to spot a cat. We show the robot 1,000 pictures of cats, but purely by accident or because that's all the photographer had, all 1,000 pictures are of gray cats. The robot studies hard. It learns, okay, a cat is a fluffy animal with pointy ears that is gray. Then a black cat walks by. The robot scans it. It sees the pointy ears. It sees the fluff, but the color is wrong. So the robot says, that's not a cat. Now, is the robot trying to be mean to the black cat? No, it doesn't hate black cats. It just wasn't taught that cats can be black. The bias is in the training data. For us as teachers, this translates directly to the tools we use. Generative AI like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they were trained on the internet. Now think about the internet for a second. It contains Wikipedia, Reddit, books from the 1800s, news articles, social media posts, and countless websites. Some of that content is wonderful. Some of it is outdated. Some of it is biased. If an AI was trained mostly on books written by men from the 19th century, how do you think it's going to write a story about a modern female CEO? It might struggle, or it might fall back on stereotypes. This is why we, the humans, have to pre-check everything. Let's look at how this shows up in the real world. I'm going to share 3 stories, true stories, and I want you to listen to these and think about which one would resonate most with your specific students. So, case study number 1 is the soap dispenser problem. A few years ago, a video went viral on Twitter. It showed a public bathroom with an automatic soap dispenser. A person with pale skin put their hand under it. Whoosh! Soap comes out. Then a person with dark skin put their hand under it. Nothing. They waved, they moved their hand closer. Nothing. Why? The sensor used a specific type of light reflection to detect a hand. The engineers who built it tested it mostly on themselves, and they mostly had lighter skin. They didn't want to exclude anyone, but the outcome was that a person with dark skin literally couldn't wash their hands. This teaches students representation in testing matters. So what was the technical problem? Well, the sensor used a specific type of light reflection to detect a hand. It was calibrated for lighter skin tones because that's what the engineers tested it with. And what was the human problem? Well, the engineers who built it tested it mostly on themselves, and they mostly had lighter skin. And this was not intentional, but they didn't think to test with diverse users. And the real world impact was that a person with dark skin couldn't wash their hands in a public restroom. So basic hygiene was now impossible because of an oversight. What do we learn? Representation in testing matters. If the people building and testing technology don't represent the people who will use it, the problems are inevitable. All right, let's move on to case study 2, the Amazon resume screener. Ooh, I shouldn't have said the name. But a major tech company, Amazon, wanted to use AI to sort through job applications because they had too many to read. They trained the AI on 10 years of successful resumes. What was the problem? Well, for that decade, the tech industry was dominated by men. So the AI learned a pattern. Men make good employees. It actually started downgrading resumes that included the word women's, like women's chess club captain. It even penalized graduates of all women's colleges. The company had to scrap the tool completely. This teaches students past data can reinforce old prejudices. So the bias appeared, it got worse, and the company responded. So yes, we have to be careful about biases AI can have, but we also have to be able to mitigate those. All right, now case study number 3 is your classroom example. Bias isn't just in the news, it's in the tools we use. I want you to type in the chat below. Have you ever seen an AI tool make a mistake or show a stereotype? Reading level issues is a common one, and it's very common for English language learners. Sometimes AI reading passages claim to be third grade level, but use cultural idioms like hit a home run or spill the beans. That might be confusing for students from different backgrounds. Then there's image generation bias. When students ask AI to generate images of a doctor, it consistently shows men. When they ask for a nurse, it shows women. These reinforce stereotypes automatically. Writing style assumptions. AI writing assistants often flag African American vernacular English as errors, even when it's grammatically correct within that dialect, sending a message that one way of speaking is wrong, and that there's only one right way. So the takeaway here isn't to throw the computer out the window, it's to realize that AI is not neutral. It has opinions because it learned from us. Okay, enough listening. Let's do some detective work. We are going to play a game called Find the Bias. I'm going to simulate an AI output for you, and I want you to put on your detective hats. Let's say we ask an AI, write a short story about a brilliant scientist making a discovery. Here is the output. The scientist adjusted his glasses. He looked at the bubbling beaker. He knew his wife would be waiting for him at home with dinner, but he had to finish this experiment first. I want you to look at that text. What assumptions did the AI make? Yes, throw them in the chat. And a couple of them are highlighted in bold, so there's some hints there. All right, let's try one more. We asked the AI to describe a bad leader. Now, if the AI generates an image or text that uses words like aggressive, emotional, or bossy, we really need to look at who those words are usually applied to. So definitely try that one in class. And I highly recommend that you do these in class as well. Nurse versus doctor, write a bio for a nurse, write a bio for a doctor, and then count the pronouns. Note the assumptions about gender. A CEO description. Ask for a description of a CEO and see if it defaults to certain ages, genders, or even physical descriptions. Historical figures. Ask it to name important scientists or name important inventors. See how diverse the list is without prompting it. And this is the aha moment for your students. You don't have to lecture them on stereotypes. You just have to show them the output and ask, who is missing from this story? Who is being represented unfairly? Because your goal isn't to make them hate AI. Your goal is to make them skeptics. We want them to spot the subtle bias before they hit print or submit on an assignment. This is the same critical thinking we teach when we say, don't believe everything you read on the internet, but now it's applied to tools that seem authoritative because they use fancy technology. So how do we bring this into your lesson plans without it taking over your whole curriculum? So here are 3 strategies you can use tomorrow. Strategy 1 is use relatable metaphors. If students think AI is a super genius brain, they will trust it blindly. We need to break that trust just a little bit. Tell them AI is like a mirror. It reflects whatever we show it. If we show it a messy room, it reflects a messy room. If we show it biased data, it reflects bias. So that is an example of a messy room being reflected in a mirror, and that's our metaphor here. Okay, moving on. Strategy number 2, the see, think, care routine. I love this for middle and high school. Whenever you use AI output in class, ask 3 questions. What do you see? Is the information accurate? Check the facts. What do you think? Is there a bias or an opinion here? What is that tone? Who should care about it? Is anyone left out or hurt by the answer? Those are the see, think, care routine models to think about whenever you are dealing with an answer from an AI output. And finally, strategy 3, we want to fix the model. This is for those of you who teach coding or have tech-savvy kids. Use a site like Machine Learning for Kids. You can actually have students train a model with bad data, watch it fail, and then fix the data to make it fair. It's incredibly powerful. So here are some ideas for teaching ethics depending on the grade level. So for K2, you want to focus on fairness and kindness. So you would say, would a robot friend treat everyone the same way? Use simple examples like toys or games. For grades 3 through 5, you want to introduce the word bias. Use the cat example. Let them test AI tools and spot stereotypes in stories or images. Grades 6 through 8 is when you dive into real world case studies. You have them research historical examples, use the see, think, care routine consistently. And 9 through 12 is like tackling complex debates. Should AI be used in hiring, in criminal justice? Have students argue both sides. And that's really fun. Okay, we are now in the home stretch. I want to give you some concrete rules for your own practice. So, rule number 1 is always protect privacy. Never ever put student personal identifiable information into a public AI tool. No names, no ID numbers. If you are analyzing a student essay with AI, remove the name first. Treat AI tools like public bulletin boards. Don't post anything you wouldn't want displayed publicly. All right, rule number 2, the student teacher rule. Treat AI like a student teacher. You wouldn't let a student teacher hand out a worksheet you hadn't looked at first. You'd review it, check for accuracy, make sure it aligns with your learning goals, and the same goes for ChatGPT. Pre-check the output and make sure that it is what is best for your students. Look for factual accuracy. Does it align with curriculum and standards? Age appropriateness. Is the vocabulary and content suitable for your students? Bias and stereotypes. Are diverse perspectives represented fairly? Cultural sensitivity. Could this content be confusing or offensive to any student? So these are the 4 things that you want to check with any AI tool. All right, rule number 3, use bias aware prompt. Don't just say, write a story. Say, write a story that includes multiple perspectives. Or check this response for any gender stereotypes and revise it. That's right, you can actually ask the AI to police itself. Tell it to revise it and check for those stereotypes itself before it feeds you back the information. So it gives you the information and then you feed it back with that secondary prompt. And here's a generic prompt. Write a story about a doctor. But a bias-aware prompt is write a story about a doctor. Make sure to include diverse characters and avoid gender stereotypes about healthcare workers. All right, generic prompt. Explain World War II. Very generic, but a bias-aware prompt would be explain World War II, including perspectives from multiple countries and groups affected by the war, not just the Allied powers. All right, to wrap things up, I want to leave you with this thought. You do not need to be an expert on neural networks to teach AI ethics. You don't need a computer science background or advanced technical training. You are experts in humanity. You are experts in critical thinking and asking the right questions and helping young people navigate the world. And that is exactly what our students need to navigate AI right now. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness, curiosity, and safe habits. You're teaching them to be thoughtful humans in a world that's shaped by technology, and that's what you've always done best. AI reflects us. To review, its bias in AI comes from the training data, which comes from us. Understanding this is the first step to addressing it. And to review the 4 pillars, fairness, privacy, transparency, safety, these are your frameworks for evaluating any AI tool or output. Remember, critical thinking first. Students need to question AI outputs the same way they question other sources. Build skepticism, not fear. You're the expert. Your expertise in teaching, critical thinking, and understanding kids is more important than technical knowledge. Thank you so much for your time today and for the incredible work you do every day in your classrooms. Teaching has always been about preparing students for a changing world, and you're doing exactly that. Remember, start small. Try one activity, have one conversation. You don't have to overhaul your entire curriculum tomorrow. Every small step toward helping students think critically about AI is a step in the right direction. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much. Goodbye.